To follow along with text threads with me, here's what I suggest you do is set your character to a typical font like Times New Roman at about 10, 11 with say 15 points of leading, and then grab your type tool, just the first one, the basic one, and then across a pretty big area, click and drag. The idea is that we want to fill this up with a lot of placeholder text. Now, as should be clear in a couple minutes here, text threads allow you to thread from one area text to another. So you might think, oh, well, that would be good when I need two columns of text. But if you remember earlier, the best way when you need multiple columns is just simply go up to type, go with your area type selected, and then go to area type options. And if you need two columns of work, then you just adjust the column number up to 2 and kind of takes care of that for you. So I'm going to Command Z that to go back. But every now and then you'll get some type of project where you need to thread unsimilar sizes or maybe circular shapes, something a little bit more bizarre together. So it's important to learn the theory behind this for things that come after what I'm about to tell you as well. So what we're going to do to get a full understanding of text threads is we're going to now take this huge type area that we made and we're going to make it smaller just by bringing that side handle in, and we'll bring the bottom handle in. And what happens is once your area for your text gets smaller than the amount of text you have, you'll see this little red cross show up at the bottom, and that's called your overflow. And what you do to invoke that, or the power of it, is you just click on it with the regular plain Jane selection tool, and watch what happens to the cursor when I do that. And as you just saw, it may take 2 clicks to do that. I think the first one wakes up the area text, and then the second one gets a hold of the overflow. But now you see my text changes, and that is, or I don't mean my text changes, I mean my cursor changes to a text cursor. That lets me know there's some text loaded in there. And now if I click and drag, and I'll just click and drag a small area here, what you can see happens is these two boxes become threaded together, and there's not enough room here for all the rest of the text, so we still have an overflow on this one, and we can click that and it looks like it loaded it up, and we can do it and we can do it again, and I can even put this one over here, and then you'll see things start to get complicated. So I'm going to Command Z a couple times, just go back to this one. But like I said earlier, you generally want to just use the type area options when you have another column, because in design work, when you have a column of text here and a column of text here, they should either be exactly the same size or clearly different sizes. So let's say you did have a good reason to make this one a little bit smaller, and this one maybe a little bit bigger. Then you could be fine doing it this way, and you still have the control over the individual text areas to make them bigger and smaller. And you can use these with unusual shapes. So if I want to take the pencil tool or even one of the shape tools and create my own oddball shape for the text, I can go back over here, select this, come over here, select the overflow icon, and then once it's loaded, when I get over here and use the smart guides to help me click on the path, now that moves over to that area. I'm going to select and delete all of this, and now we're going to start talking about type on a path. So I'm going to create a path, just switch so I have a black stroke for now on the path. I'm going to grab the pen tool. I'm going to click, come over here, click and drag, just so we have kind of a curved path to draw on. I'll hit the escape key, and then I'll come over here to my text. And notice I said that you have 3 different options here, And if you went to classic workface, you would even see more. But we don't even have to go to type on a path. If we just take the regular text tool, when we get over a path, you'll see that it changes to that tool anyway. And then we can, well, type away, or in this case, it filled it automatically with some placeholder text. And let me just zoom in on this a little bit here. Type on a path, well, it would seem that it would be most like the point text you learned about earlier, actually has a commonality with area text in that it has an import and an outport. So if I grab this last line here and I bring it back, you'll see that we get that overflow icon. I'm going to click a couple times on here and then just change this to a smaller amount of text. So I'll just type on a path. And what I want you to see is there's a couple of interesting things here. So we have this end point, we have the beginning point, and we can adjust those along the path. And then this is what's known as our center point. You can see it kind of rocks the beginning and the end. And if we go to our paragraph panels and we change this to center the text, then it centers it around there. If we go to right justified, puts it over there. Left justified, puts it over there. Another thing about this center point here, or center line, is that if you grab it and drag downwards, it actually changes the orientation of the text. Now, you can change your text area. Let me just make this much bigger so you can see some of the things that you'll have to watch out for when you do this. So if we click this and we change the size of this whole entire thing because for whatever reason we want to squish it, that's exactly what we did, was we squished our text. So not the best way to work. I'll show you another way, but let's say you got the results you wanted. Well, you already know from the previous videos that all you'd have to do is select this text, go to the character panel, make sure it shows all of the options, and change these back so that they both say 100%. Now, really, the better way to change your path would be to select the path itself. So I'm going to click away. I'm going to grab the direct selection tool, and I'm going to hover around here till I'm on top of the path, and then I can get a hold of that anchor and I can make changes to this. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see this. I can even grab the handles and make changes. So a lot of editing can still be done once you have your path made. Now notice you can get some really, really bad text settings when you type on a path. So and also you just generally don't want to overdo this because it can make you look very rookie-ish when you do things that aren't necessary, you know, like you do them just for the sake because I can do them. Now if conceptually they make sense, or very often you'll see, and I'll show you an example in a little bit, of setting text around a curve, then that can be very useful on logos and things like that. If you need your type set exactly to the center of the path, then all you need to do is set the beginning to the very beginning of the path and the end to the very end, and then choose center justified, and that will make sure that it is on the very center. Let's talk about text on a closed path. And all a closed path means is that you start and you end where you started. Thus, your path is closed. You can make it by yourself like I did there, or one of the more common areas to do this on is a circle. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key while I use the ellipse tool and make a perfect circle. Now, the thing is, if I take the regular type tool and I click on the edge here, it's, if you remember, going to give me area type. So I could go back to the type menu. I could grab the type on the path tool to force the issue, or another way to force the issue is to hold down the option key and click. So now I have type on that closed path. and I'm just going to change what it says. I just changed that to read top of the circle, and here is my center point. So I want that, or that center line, I want that to be right at the very top. And you can see this stuff will switch around on you, like right there. See how I lost that? So I just have to come back here and grab it again, bring it all the way up to the top, and you can see the smart guides help me there. But since I'm talking too much here, oh, no, I lost everything here. So let me, I'm just going to redo this so that the key thing is I want these to be far enough so that everything fits. I do have this center justified. Now I'll do this, and I'm not going to talk this time. I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to move it up to the very top. Okay, so now let's say that we wanted some text on the bottom of the circle. Now, an easy way to do this to make sure we have the exact same size circle would be to hold down the Option key, click and drag so that it makes a copy, release the mouse, release the Option key, and we'll change this so that it says bottom. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before, where we grab this center, move it around kind of quickly, get it right perfect. Now, one of the problems we have is most of the time you would want that text to read left to right, just like the top reads from left to right. So what we can do is we've learned that if we grab the center point and bring it in, that changes the orientation of the text. The only problem we have now is that this is aligned in the inside of the circle and this is aligned on the outside. But that's not as bad as it sounds. Let's first of all bring these, well, actually it doesn't matter whether we bring them together first or we do this now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to select this, and we're going to use something we learned about earlier in the character panel, and that is the baseline shift. So we're going to give us some more options here. Baseline shift, and we're going to start moving that and a negative number and get the text so that it visually aligns to the bottom of the circle, which can mean different things depending on how your logo is. It could mean the very tops of the letter, or it could mean an average of the letters, but that is a visual adjustment you'll make along the way. Now, the other thing this did was it separated or spread the letters out a bit. So this is one of those few instances where you would also use the tracking to bring everything in together. Now, really, the bottom line when you set type on a circle is it requires an awful lot of kerning. But the one thing that is, if you know that you have to remove space between all the letters, then it's going to make your life a little simpler or quicker to just take out all the space that you know needs to come out and then go in and look at the individual pairs. Now, all we have to do is get a hold of this circle here, and when we move this one over, hopefully those smart guides will tell us when they're over the top of each other. But if we have trouble with that, then there's another thing we can do. We can just leave this one clearly over here and this one over here. Select both, because basically we're selecting the circles. We'll go into our properties panel, which is smart enough to know that now we have two items selected, and it's showing us the align option. So I'm going to click horizontally align center, and then I'm going to click vertically align center. And there is our text somewhat perfectly put around the top and the bottom of a circle.